Join us as we strive to be disciples of Christ. Explore with us faith-building stories that highlight personal testimony of our Savior Jesus Christ. We actively seek out true conversion stories from members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Let's be real and talk about these incredible stories of faith and testimony of our Savior Jesus Christ. This is True Conversion. Let's be real.
Welcome to another True Conversion. Let's be real. I'm Brennan, and I have two incredible guests with me today. I've got Brad and Bryant Vega, the brothers who are absolutely involved with Priesthood Men and doing some crazy things with that we're going to talk about soon. But I'm going to read a bio for both of them, and then we're just going to jump into this thing. So our first guest is Brad. And he's a college dropout who started using drugs and alcohol at 18 and left the church. 50 plus arrests and jail stays, 14 felony convictions, 2 prison sentences, and a couple failed divorces. Later, he decided to try the restored gospel like his parents had taught him. He found out it's true. And second, we also are joined by his brother Bryant. And he walked away from the church for 12 years, convinced he'd outgrown religion. He built businesses, climbed the corporate ladder, traveled the country, explored worldviews ranging from atheism to psychedelics, and believed he was finally thinking for himself. And that was the point where life unraveled for him. After losing his daughter, his business, his home, and his marriage, a desperate prayer changed everything. Today, he's dedicated his life to helping others come into Christ. And I have to say that when I first came across you guys' page, thanks again for coming and doing this. Like I'm stoked. With doing this, I came across your page, and I have to say how I loved how unapologetic you guys are about the gospel of Jesus Christ, the atonement, and basic gospel truths that at times people kind of shy away from. And you guys have decided to hit that head on. So I don't want to get too far ahead right away, but what made you guys start the page? Like where did this all come from?
Yeah, I'll answer. And just to segue off of something that you mentioned, Bryant and I were just having this conversation the other day, and I remember my brother told me, growing up Mormon, if I was around a group of my Christian friends, I was afraid to tell them that I was a Latter-day Saint or a Mormon, And so there's always been this for me too, growing up, and you may have felt that, this stigmatism that was attached to Mormonism outside of Utah. Now, maybe in Utah it's different. I can't speak to the experience growing up there, but we've never really lived in an area that was highly populated Latter-day Saint. We were pretty much the minority, and so I say all that to say that's what Priesthood Men is all about. We decided that we're 17 million strong now, and we don't need to be afraid of who we represent because we represent Jesus Christ. We know who we are, and we know what we've been called to do, and we cannot allow fear to drive our lives, or else we can't participate in the call that He has placed on our lives.
I love that. Well, and it shows. I think there's not everybody can accomplish that. I guess not every personality is able to do that, and you guys are taking your gifts and presenting it to the world in such a way that is grabbing the attention of so many. And I think so many, especially priesthood men, look at it and go, oh, finally somebody's saying what I've wanted to say for so long, which is so cool. So I really appreciate you guys being on. With let's back up now. Brad, just reading your bio, and you went from rock bottom, in essence, and you grew up in the church. At what point was that switch for you?
What for the change? When did the
Yeah, like,
change
I
occur?
mean, you 14 felony convictions, 2 prison sentences, right? Like, all of a sudden, you hit that rock bottom of rock bottoms. You can literally choose however you want to get out, right? And you choose the gospel of Jesus Christ and the atonement of Christ. Why?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. And I think, I'm reminded of the poem by Robert Frost, where he says the path opened up on the road and two paths diverged, and I took the one that was less traveled, right? And I think for priesthood men, there comes a point in our lives where each of us has to stand at that place and decide which road that we're going to take, And for me, I was in a wheelchair. My left leg was broken. My right arm was broken. My nose was broken. I had road rash on the top of my head. I couldn't bathe myself. I couldn't walk. I was in a wheelchair. My children and my soon-to-be ex-wife, who I was sealed to in the temple, were about a mile and a half down the street in the house that I used to live in with them. So I found myself alone, rolling around in the wheelchair, unable to bathe myself, and those two roads appeared before me, and I had a decision to make. Will I continue to trudge this path of destruction, or will I choose, this other path that, listen, the other path for Latter-day Saints, for those who have had the privilege of being born in the church or under the covenant, is not a mystery. The path has always been there, right? The Elder Kieran's statement that he is in relentless pursuit of us has been always true for all of us, right? And so that path has been continuously throughout my life reappearing, and I've had that option and I've turned it down again and again. So this time, I knew that if I didn't switch paths, much like you felt when you were in that situation, I had that same feeling. I had the sense that the end was near for me, and that his mercy, although unlimited, was running out for me, as far as this mortal life goes. And so, yeah, so that's when it all changed for me.
That's that's awesome. And Bryant, kind of similar question. You get to a point where, I mean, you call it life unraveling. I think anybody can relate, especially with both of you, Brad and Bryant. But Bryant, same question. Like, at that point, what brought you back?
Well, I'll try to give you a quick little summary of before because it's kind of relevant. I see my life in three acts. The first act is growing up in the church, really strong in the spirit. I felt the spirit as I do now. I knew it was real without a question. And temptation started coming in. I met a girl, and I wanted to be with her. And I wanted to be with her more than I wanted to be with God. So gradually, I started sinning more, and I started hanging out with different groups of people. And then I started saying, well, the word of wisdom isn't that bad. Drinking isn't that bad. I can justify this. That's not what it says. I'm allowed to do it. Um, so the act two was kind of the rebellion and learning and just experiencing the other side of life. But through that, the entire time I was researching the Nag Hammadi, the Apocrypha, I was Buddhism, meditation, psychedelics. I mean, literally, I was doing everything I could to find God again, and He had been there the whole time. But that's irrelevant. But here's where we are now. So my life is a before and after. When my daughter died. Uh, Actually, let me back up real quick. So when I started going back to church, the reason there was multiple reasons. One, I saw on the news, the Euphrates River is dry. The Euphrates is drying up. Okay, end times biblical, and I'm not going to be the only idiot not on the pulpit when Christ returns, right? So
Right.
that's then my kids. I just had two kids, so how am I going to raise them? Uh, then I noticed, I'm getting more fights with my wife, so my heart is hardened. And I need a softer heart. So for some reason, every day for like a month, out of nowhere, Bryant, you need to go to church. Bryant, go to church. Bryant, you need to be back at church. You need to raise your kids in the church. You need a softer heart. Go to church every day. I started going back. Me and Brad had another experience in the temple that mind blowing, but that's maybe for another time. But I started going back to church, and 4 months later, my daughter died. And there's a before Bryant and there's an after Bryant. When people say you have to die and become a new creature, I don't know how to explain what that means, but I now understand what that means. I'm not Bryant, and I know people might take this weirdly, but I'm not Bryant. I'm an eternal being driving around this body. And that's how I live now. I went through what I can only describe as the depths of hell, and I really understand hell. And I don't wish it on anyone, but in order to hit that bottom, hitting that bottom was probably the greatest blessing that I've ever been given in my life. She died so that I can live. And she was my savior. We released on social media a video of her orb floating across my driveway the night that she died. I don't know if it was her orb or what it was, but there was some blue ball of light floating across my driveway. It's on my Ring video camera. And countless events have happened over the last 2 years since then. But back to the original question is, I came back to church because I died. I started coming back, and I think this is really important to note. I started coming back before the grief, before the trauma, before the incident. So I was already back. I didn't come back to church because I'm grieving or because I'm in pain or sad. I came back because I wasn't trying to be Mormon. I just wanted a softer heart. I wasn't coming for the church, wasn't coming for the people. I came back just for me. And I can't tell you how quickly God came back. And I thought it was going to take forever, but it hit me. The Spirit just blew me up. One day in my garage, when I got down on my knees and said, God, I don't know if you're real, but I remember, the only thing I remember is that if the faith of a mustard seed can move mountains, that's all I have. Please tell me you're real. So he told me.
He's real.
That's powerful.
Since then, nothing else matters. If I die tomorrow, what have I been fighting for? I can't take the money. I can't take the house. I can't take the car. I'm dead. The only thing that matters is becoming. That's it.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. I mean, I appreciate you getting so personal and being real with us. And I think it's so interesting. A lot of people who start coming back to the church, or they become baptized for the first time, right? And they go through their conversion story. There are speed bumps that happen, right? Like the covenant path is not a 1-lane highway and, freshly paved. Like we're chilling, right? Like President Nelson never said it was going to be easy. And there was this quote when he first came out with, keep on the covenant path. Elder Eyring, or now President Eyring, said, if you find yourself on the right path, it will always be uphill. And I love that, right? And you guys have experienced such trauma and at the same time as much blessings because of what you've gone through. What would be your best advice to someone? Someone comes to you and says, hey, Brad, Bryant, what do I do? What do I need to do? Here's my speed bumps, right? Here's my things that are before me, the walls and trials, tribulations, and so forth. What would be your advice to them?
The number one thing that I personally believe is most important for everyone in the world is knowing yourself. 2 words: know yourself. And what that means is, there's so many aspects of what that means, but understanding who you are, what your mannerisms are, what your traumas are, why you do certain things that you do. You really have to question yourself and look at yourself. You have to be honest with yourself. Learn emotional regulation. Those 2 things right there, self-awareness and emotional regulation, are the number 1 thing that I think the entire world needs more of. And once you understand that, once you know who you are and love yourself and understand that, hey, I'm this and that's okay, then you can be open and you can lose the fear of worrying about the fear and doubt of worrying about everybody else. And then you can be open to receiving God and the Spirit. That's mine.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think a lot of young men learn a lot of those lessons serving a mission. And that's something that Bryant and I both missed out on, was getting to learn those lessons, right? Of overcoming those things and emotional regulation. Now Bryant and I, as we're on this Priesthood Men journey together, we've had to learn how to um, regulate our emotions, right? And how to work together and how to, forgive and accept and all of these things, right? That probably were a big part of why my marriage failed. Um, yeah. So missionaries, while the rest of the world is pretending to be in college while playing video games and getting drunk, we're making real men. I got a real good friend is in Japan right now, another one in Mexico. So, but yeah, to answer your question, the problem is, Brennan, is that the gospel of Jesus Christ is too good to be true. And because it's too good to be true, and because the answer is so simple, most people never take it serious enough to get the results that it offers, And so the gospel of Jesus Christ is exercise faith in Jesus Christ unto repentance, be baptized in his name, receive the gifts of the Holy Ghost, and endure to the end, right? And so we live the gospel of Jesus Christ every single day. We do those 5 things. And so that's the process of discipleship. And it's as simple as saying a prayer, reading my scriptures, and taking the sacrament, over and over and over again. And if we can do that, in my experience, as I've done that consistently, I've been safe from the fiery darts of the adversary. Uh, Prior to me doing that, they nearly destroyed my life and my generations. Those fiery darts did. So the gospel of Jesus Christ is very simple. As we become more like Jesus Christ, all of those things that Bryant says we need to work on, we begin to have a desire to work on. Because we as we become more like him, we at the same time begin to realize how incredibly awesome he is and how far short we fall, And so when we start, okay, I gotta push, And so that's kind of been the process for me. But the gospel is truly the most exciting thing that I've ever been engaged in.
You guys are a perfect blend. You can tell that not only you guys are related, but you guys enjoy working together. And this movement that you guys have started, and I mean, it seems like I was I was messing around on Instagram the other day, and I saw the video of the fireworks. And I was like, they're running away from the fireworks. Like, okay, cool. 4th of July, and it says the Book of Mormon is true. And I was like, yes, right? Like I have that visceral reaction. I'm like, yeah, okay. My wife's like, what are you doing? I was like, duh, just it's a video. No worries, right? Like, but before you guys even got here, so you decide to come back to church and you decide to give your lives to Christ, which I love it, right? Like, I wish we would talk in those standards more often, right? Because it seems like what we do with our lives are always outside of following Christ. Like, oh, okay, I'm a lawyer and I also go to church. And it's like, no, we need to blend it all, right? You guys decided to create Priesthood Men. Give me behind the scenes. What was the first time you guys looked at each other and was like, hey, we're going to create viral videos that's like, hey, you wearing your garments? Bang. Like, you know what I'm saying? I loved it. So where did it stem from? Who decided to start this thing?
This guy over here.
So it's interesting. Bryant and I have both had this feeling our whole lives, and every 5 years or so, no matter where we were, what state he was in, what state I was in, every 3 to 5 years, we would find ourselves having this same conversation, right? That one day we're going to do something that changes the world. One day we're going to do something, we didn't necessarily connect it to the gospel. We thought it was like business. We were going to go make a bunch of money, right? Like, because that's what the world teaches us success is, right? And so like, but we weren't sure, we had no idea that this is what it was going to be, but we always knew one day we were going to both finally overcome the stuff that we got going on, and we were going to put our past behind us and come together and make a difference in the world, and so that's kind of the backstory with us. And so we're each going through these different experiences in our lives, completely different, I mean, experiences that we both were able to go through. And for me, like I said, the divorce from my wife, and she wound up, she was, I found out afterwards she had met another guy and they were secretly dating. And then once her and I officially separated, then he started to sleep over a lot, what the kids would tell me and stuff like that. And then they wound up getting married. He was a Jehovah's Witness. Then she started bringing him to church. Then he got baptized. So I find myself sitting in church every week, like looking at the pew that I used to sit in with my eternal companion and my family, right? And I see some image of another man sitting there, and it's like this weird. So that's kind of where I find myself in my life right now, right? At this time. And so I'm trying to figure out how to move on, because remember, I told you I was in the wheelchair, right? That was at the end of everything, right? And I chose the other path. So I'm on this path of discipleship now, right? And so it doesn't matter what's going on at the church.
But we're talking about he's going in the middle of the woods with another member to minister to homeless people, bringing them toilet paper. I mean, just I don't know. Nobody asked him to do this. No, it's just he so literal disciple of Christ that he's literally going into the middle of the forest to try to baptize people.
Of that.
Go ahead. What's up?
Not try.
Or to baptize people.
Not try.
So that was the beginning of
Janice, Tom, Braden. So Janice, Tom. I mean, in any event, thank you for that.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So yeah, dude. And this is how that happened. So I'm trying to figure out how to transition right into this new life of single dad, everything has changed, right? I'm not using drugs and alcohol anymore. I'm a convicted felon. I'm an ex-con, so I have no college degree. I have no skills. I have no education for them. Like, what am I going to do now, right? And so my only hope was Jesus Christ. If he didn't help me, Brennan, I was hopeless. I had burnt every other bridge that I could have walked across to get off this island. And so if Jesus Christ didn't make a bridge appear for me, so I'm like literally on this island praying for an invisible bridge to appear so that I can get off of it, right? And so I started going to the temple, man. I made it a commitment. I said, I'm going to go to the temple once a week. This was in April. This was in March 2025 when I started going to the temple. I'll never forget. So I'm going once a week, and I'm trying to figure out what God wants. What does he want from me? I have given myself to you and made that decision. What do I do now? Right.
Right.
So I'm going to the temple, and I'm going through the sessions, and I'm listening, and I'm praying, and I'm, once a week. And so we're going every week, and man, having these profound spiritual experiences in the temple. And Going home and praying, and I start to get this, you know, question starts to form in my mind about consecration, about the covenants that we make in the temple. And so like the second time we go, I keep hearing this, um, time, talents, efforts, everything that I have, everything that God has blessed me with, everything that He will bless me with, to the building up of the kingdom of God on earth, namely the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, right? So I'm hearing that like the third time, the fourth time, and I'm like, dang. So like by the third time, I'm like, dang, does He, like, I'm looking, I'm trying to figure out, I'm like, am I understanding this right? Like, does God really, like, is that, like, does He expect us to actually do that, Brennan? Like, bro, I'm looking at the other people in this session. Am I hearing different words than everyone else? Or does God really, like, we have special clothing on where it's not just like, hey, pinky promise, Brennan. You know what I mean? Like, this wasn't just like, dude, we went through a whole ordeal to submit this promise that we're making. You know what I mean? And so I'm like having all of these thoughts, bro. And I'm like, dang. So again, I come back the fourth time. This is April. I'll never forget. So I get there in April, and I run into a gentleman, who I won't mention, but we had this experience there, and I'm coming out. So then I hear it this time, the fourth time, and the thought popped into my head. So I decided that, all right, so going in, I'm like, okay, well, I think God, I talked to Brennan. I'm like, dude, remember that conversation? I'm like, does God actually expect, like, I'm asking people, does God expect us to keep, like, or is it just like we're supposed to strive? You know what I mean? Or like a lot of people will say we're supposed to be willing to keep the law of consecration,
Not
right?
actually do it.
Right. So
Right.
like I'm having this battle, Brennan. So finally I come to terms with the fact that yes, God's not going to ask us to do anything that He doesn't expect us to do, right? For I, Nephi, know the Lord will not give any commandment unto the children of men, save He shall prepare a way for them that they may accomplish the thing which He has commanded. So if He has asked us to do something, you better believe not only does He expect us to do it, but He's prepared a way for us to do it. And so the thought pops into my head this fourth time. What happens if I do it? What would happen? Okay, so I understand what consecrate means now, what would happen if I actually kept the covenant that I make today? And I said, you know what? I'm going to do it. And I got home that day and I filmed the first video ever, right? I didn't know, I had never made a video before. I had never,
Probably never even posted on
I
social
don't think
media
I ever
before.
posted on
Right.
social media before. Um, you know, but I understand when people criticize the prophet Joseph Smith a lot because they say, well, how did you translate it? And he says, well, I translated it by the gift and power of God, right? I never understood what that meant until I had to do something by the gift and power of God. Um, so whatever impact Priesthood Men has had, it has been done by the gift and power of God, because I've never done anything worthwhile, Brennan, in my life. And so no skills, on and on and on, right? I'm not qualified, but Jesus Christ qualifies those who put their trust in Him, and that's what I did. So,
Whom He calls, He qualifies, right?
yes, let's go.
I love it. I love it. Yeah,
I will
exactly.
say, real quick, sorry, I will say one of the things that about Brad, though, that may be unique from a lot of people is he's a doer. He jumps in, he just goes and does it. I'm not that type, right? I'm the sit back and analyze, make sure I know every single angle of everything type, and then I'll go in. I think it takes a doer. We can talk about church, we can pray about church, but I mean, I guess praying is doing, but you have to go do it. And we all say we believe it, and we all say we're going to do it, but I don't know. I guess
Who's building Zion, right?
who's doing it. So if nobody else is doing it, I guess I'm going to do it because I'm tired of waiting around in this world.
Love that.
I want to change it.
Let's go.
They told us to do it, Brennan.
Yeah.
The
Yes.
prophets did. Prophets
Yes.
of God told us to do it.
Yes. I'm Yes, preaching to the choir. I'm like, all right, let's go. I'm like, what do I need to do? Like, let's go.
Sign me up, put me in, coach.
Exactly right, man. So, all right. So, Brad, you have this idea. Bryant, when do you jump in on this? Is it right away? Does he call you up and he's like, hey, by the way, I'm going to go viral making videos about Christ, the Book of Mormon, Joseph Smith. Yeah, like dude, I'm about it. Like I'm all in. I saw one video and I was like, cool. Let's reach out to these guys, right? Like, so Bryant, when did you jump in on this?
Yeah, that's a good question. So Brad and I had been talking for weirdly we had been in a similar situation at the same time. He had started meditating and separately I had started meditating, and we had both started praying and at the exact same time separately, but we started having these phone conversations for some reason about God all of a sudden. And again, this is 12 years of me being an atheist. I'm like, in my head, I'm like, Brad, you're being controlled. Like, quit being a dummy. Like,
Right.
like stop listening to these people. Think for yourself, guy. And so I remember that happened, and then we had an experience at the temple. I should I get into it?
Absolutely.
Just 20 minutes, 30 minutes. Okay. So Andy, our third of Priesthood Men, wanted to get going a temple tour thing where he brought people to the temple and went on the outside and showed them about symbolism and the symbols that are on the temple. So Brad randomly invited me to that. I was kind of like, kind of good, bro, but like some reason I went.
You're being a good brother. You're just like, yeah, sure.
Nah, bro. But you got to understand, Brendan, this wasn't.
Yeah, our relationship wasn't even that great.
It's not the two guys you see sitting before you today. And I would say chances are I did it. He wasn't gonna come. You know what I mean? Like he wasn't there yet where he was like, oh yeah, temple. You know what I mean? Like he wasn't the man he is today, wearing the garment of the holy priesthood. You know what I mean? This was a different man, and so the fact that he said, like, not only okay, I'll go, but actually found himself at the temple on that day, you know what I mean, is in itself pretty awesome, right? I mean,
sure. But yeah, so we get to the grounds. Me and Brad get there first, and I have to use the bathroom. Hadn't been on temple grounds in at least 12 years, probably more. We start walking towards the front door, and I've always felt the spirit strongly, but I've never experienced physical things, right? I've never seen angels. So we're walking to the front door in the Orlando Temple. There's a opening foyer where you put your umbrellas, and then there's the main lobby that opens up. So we're walking.
Two sets of double doors, right? So one's open, you go in, put your umbrella, and then that second door open, probably much like many temples, I would imagine.
So we're walking in just normal stride. I have not my only thought is I need to go use the bathroom. I didn't even think about it. Oh, cool, I'm in the temple. I gotta go to the bathroom. So we walk through the first set of doors. Everything cool, just fine. And then the second door is open for the lobby, and Brad walks right on through. I don't know how to explain this, but I get up to the threshold of the door where the door opens. I get underneath the door, and I don't I freeze, like as if something is holding me. The only thing I can do is look with my eyeballs, but anything that I'm looking at doesn't matter because I can't even notice what is going on because something is holding my body. And I breathed in really heavy, and all I could do was hold it like this. The only sight that I got was the temple worker across the aisle. And that was for a split second. And in my head, one, what the crap is happening to me right now? And two, what is she thinking? Because this is crazy. So I come out of it, I don't know how long it was, but I come out of it, and the first thought that I had was to go get on my hands and knees, put my forehead on the floor, pray to God for forgiveness, and ask him if I can enter. And I mean, I just got right up, went straight in as if nothing happened. I don't know what that was, other than my bishop later on gave me 2 books to read about the endowment. And I read somewhere in there about the dedicatory prayer and the protection that is placed on the temple. And in my brain just suddenly went back to that's what it was. So the temple's real and it's protected. Where are we going with this story? So that was an insane experience, and I understand many people don't get these, and some reason I was lucky enough to receive whatever it is that I need to receive. So that happened, but it still didn't click. It didn't matter. That was just, oh, okay. There might be something there again.
Well, God's real, but the world still is, and I'm still in it.
Right.
Like, I mean,
Yep, pretty much. Then what was that? So temple.
so that was one of the experiences that led up to you.
Yeah. So then for about a year, the first year after my daughter died was I didn't know where I was. I didn't know what time it was. I was walking zombie. I knew what mattered. I knew that only getting home mattered. But and I didn't know how to do it yet either. I just knew I wanted to shout on a mountaintop. And Brad started the mountaintop, and I realized I can climb on. And it was just the fact, like you said, for some reason, we've always known this. I don't know how to explain it. It is ingrained in our being, in our DNA. Whatever this thing is,
He knows.
that we need to do it, or that we're going to do it, or whatever, we're going to be it. And yeah, like Brad said, we found out it was God later, and it was doing this. But again, it was me dying. There's nothing else that matters. If we're eternal beings. I'm kind of a conspiracy theorist, so like we're playing a video game right now, driving around a human avatar. Like, everybody's tripping, bro. Like, we're in heaven right now. We need to chill and get back there. Okay.
Yeah, you and Jumanji.
Do I? Jumanji, yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think it's so cool about both of your stories, and something that really sticks out to me is I believe it's a gift, is the recognition of blessings. To be able to see through the hard and recognize, right? Like, some people would look at that experience at the temple, and I really appreciate you being willing to share that. Like, so many people out there need to hear these stories. And for me, starting this podcast is the idea of it's not a perfect road that we're on. And everyone's story is different in one way or another. But that's the beauty of it, right? Like, Peter wasn't perfect. He did some really dumb stuff at times. And Jesus was like, dude, really? That's what you choose to do in this moment? Right? Like, he had to be rebuked. You get to walk on water, and then he starts taking his gaze off Christ. And it's that easy for sin to be able to work its way into anybody's life. But the blessing of the recognition that both of you had in the hardest experiences of your life to recognize God's hand in your life is huge. It's momentous, right? Like, I mean, the idea of being stuck at a door, right? It reminded me of Alma the Younger. Alma's father's praying consistently over and over and over again, like, hey, I really want my son and the sons of Mosiah to come back, to come back, to come back, to come back. And he didn't force it, right? Like, the idea of having their own conversion story. And that made me think of that, because it was like, every once in a while there is a physical manifestation. There is something that happens, right? Like for me, my mom getting breast cancer changed my life. And you want to talk about Robert Frost and those two roads. I was playing college basketball. I was not living any sort of covenant whatsoever and had no desire to go on a mission. And I have the other way that ends up happening because of something physical, something that Heavenly Father puts out there, a trial. And if I don't have that lens of, I told my daughter who's on a mission, right, to look at her life through heaven's eyes. She's like, I've been in this area for 6 months and she's crushing it in England. I was like, hey, you have to look at yourself through heaven's eyes and realize you're in that area for a reason, and don't shy away from your last week. Like, oh, I got to say bye to people or anything like that. I need to go attack that. And something that you both said reminded me of something that I've been thinking about, this idea of disciple mindset. And it's probably the last question I'll ask you guys. When I say disciple mindset, where does that take you guys? Like, what do you start thinking about?
So discipline plus priesthood equals unstoppable. That's been my experience. So if you have the authority of the priesthood and you can become a disciplined man, nothing has been able to stop me so far. So discipleship has to be an identity. It has to be who you are. The scripture says that for behold, I am a disciple of Jesus Christ. I have been called of him to declare his word among his people that they may have everlasting life. We have to know that about ourselves. Brian was talking about knowing yourselves. We have to know our identity at the most fundamental level, who we are. And if we can accept that identity, discipleship is natural. We are, especially, I'll speak for us. I don't, people maybe not outside, I don't know, but for members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, we have been born specifically at this time for the gathering of Israel. And we've been blessed with the priesthood. Guess what? We're the only ones authorized to perform these ordinances that are necessary for advancing to the celestial kingdom. So if we don't do it, Brennan, if you don't do it, if you don't do it, if I don't do it, if we don't do it, if the priesthood men, less than 1% of the population, if we don't take it upon ourselves to be disciples of Jesus Christ and to exercise the authority of his priesthood that we've been given, no one else is authorized to do it. So.
Yeah, and actually, I feel like I want to say something real quick before answering that question, if that's okay. You can edit it out later if you need to.
Oh, you're good.
For some reason, I felt inspired to say that most people are living at the surface level of the gospel. It goes deeper. The more that you serve, the more that you pray, the more that you yoke yourself and get closer to Christ, the more literal miracles as people would hear and think that's a miracle. Not like little tiny subtle things. Literal miracles will happen. Everyone can get them. It happens a lot more often when all of us are together for some reason. But the more you dig into the gospel, the more you get. And I personally can see that that's why the apostles, the prophets, the 70s, why are they apostles, prophets, and 70s? Not because they have some magic power that they were given some gift, because they've served for 50 years. They stay in members' homes. They've never take off their suit. That's why they're the prophet and the apostle, because they serve, not vice versa. They weren't given the gift of prophecy and apostleship. They got it because they served and they were willing and able. But sorry, I don't know why I felt the need to say that. And then as far as discipleship,
Never apologize for following the Spirit, in my mind. Excuse me for saying, but never apologize for that. I love that you're willing to do that and share that. I appreciate it.
Thank you. As far as discipleship, pretty much Brad hit it on the head. You know, the first thought that we have in the morning is, what message am I getting out today to help others? And what does Christ want me to do? Secondary is, Brad, how are we going to make money so we can, survive the next week or two and still do Priesthood Men so we can get the gospel out? Not our first thought, right? Our first thought
Yeah.
isn't, Bryant, we need to make money so we can get Priesthood Men. It's, how do we spread the gospel? And then how do we get money? That's big, because that's our focus is Christ first, the end. That's a disciple.
To anybody who may be listening, the gospel of Jesus Christ is a matter of faith, not reason. Of faith, not reason. That's the biggest stumbling block for people, as they try to reason their way into the kingdom, and it is done by faith, not reason.
Right. Faith is an action. I love it. You guys have been absolutely incredible. I hope this is our first conversation, and that I can have you guys on again, because I've absolutely loved it, and I feel like there's so much more. We could sit here for hours, and I'd be all about it. Trust.
Well, can I put a plug in on that note? I'll just say
Please do.
this, Priesthood Men, we are a 501c3. We're a registered nonprofit in the state of Florida. Our mission is to strengthen priesthood men everywhere, and by so doing, hasten the Lord's work and gather Israel. And so that's our mission. It's the same mission that the church has. We just hope to help priesthood men who have learned the doctrine and elders quorum practically apply it in their daily lives. And so that's our mission. We do have a donor box page. We're fully funded by donors. Everything that we do, all proceeds go back into the mission. And so anybody who's interested in becoming a monthly donor, we are in need, of the support of our brothers and sisters. We have always said that if enough of our brothers and sisters, 17 million strong, right? If there's enough of our brothers and sisters who care enough about the gathering of Israel, that are willing to get involved, we can literally change the world forever. And not only can we, but I'll say it again, we've been called to do so. And so, anybody who feels inspired to become a part of this, Brendan will put our donor box link down on the page. We do also have a subscription tier on our Facebook page. Again, that goes towards. One thing that I will mention too is we do have our first baptism coming up next week from a social media video. So I won't talk too much more about that tonight, because 1 Peter 5:19 says that our adversary, the devil, walketh about as a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour. And so we'll keep that in until we get that done. But man, we're excited about the mission. We're excited about the gathering, and we're so grateful that you thought that we were cool enough to talk to you for a few minutes, man.
No, I love you guys' message. Thank you and Brad and Bryant of Priesthood Men. What a cool opportunity to be able to interview you guys. And I know that I'm going to have you guys on again. Like I already feel it. Like we're going to set this up again and be able to talk more stuff.
Latter-day Saint stories on our Priesthood Men channel. We'd love to have you on too, Brendan. I know that your story is amazing. I was, when Bryant was speaking and I said he knows, you don't find yourself doing a Latter-day Saint podcast unless the Lord has driven you to be sitting on that couch. And so I know that you have been called to this work. God bless your wife for giving you the little bit of faith that you need, a little bit of support, a little bit of like the okay to pursue this, right? Because man, like it's I tell you what, a man will do anything for a good woman, man. I tell you what, bro. So just that little bit of faith means so much, and I'm so grateful that you're doing this, man. This is the most important thing taking place on the planet.
Yes.
Right?
Oh, hands down, the most happy I've ever been is doing this, and I don't know what kind of numbers I'll ever get, but for now, if I can just get one person, is the entire goal, right? Just one person to come under Christ. So I'm Brennan. This has been another True Conversion. Let's be real. Thank you to Brad and Bryant from Priesthood Men. They have an incredible story. Go check out their Instagram, Facebook. Donate, help out their cause. We appreciate you listening. We're on Instagram, Facebook, any podcast platform, and on YouTube. So check us out. And until next time, if I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.